of your salary.
Accounting.
No, yes. My parents had a business, and when I was...
Oh, that's right. Family business. Arizona.
I was less than 12. I think I was about 10. My job was to come home after school and do the payroll. And this was back when none of this shit was computerized. And we were construction. So there would be like crew chiefs who would make like, based on the job and the square footage, which I had to calculate on a job on a house.
That's a 10-year-old.
I'm a 10-year-old.
Nice.
I would calculate their square footage at their rate, right? And then they had employees that we had to deduct their payroll out of the crew chief's, cut, right? So I did all that. I calculated all the payroll taxes. I wrote out the checks. This is like literally writing checks. And then here's the kicker.
My kid's
10
such
years
a slacker.
old. 10 years old. It was Wednesday afternoon. I'd had to do it before 5:00. I had to call the bank because the bank closed at 5:00 and say, "Hey, this is Danielle from Stroble Plastering. I need to make a bank transfer. We need to transfer X funds from our general account to our payroll
Come
account."
on.
Swear to freaking God.
As a 10-year-old.
As a 10-year-old.
So I'm just going to go ahead and
my
guess
first
that banker got fired. You were either doing perfect math as a 10-year-old or...
My mother taught me, we had a 10 key with the tape, and when she taught me, she's like, you add it, and then you add it again, and then you double check it on the tape.
Nice.
You make so I was double checking, triple checking. There was no option to make a mistake. And if I did, I had to answer the question to the poor worker.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened to my paycheck? So, that was my first.
You're like, sorry, there were cartoons on. I was distracted.
I don't recall actually ever having gotten paid. I'm sure I did, but maybe I didn't. Anyway,
you got paid.
Well,
in love.
love and food and shelter.
My parents are like, we're going out of town for a week, do the payroll.
I think a lot of people, it's like the first job is like babysitting. You're like old enough that you could watch an 8-year-old and make sure they stay alive till their parents get home.
Yeah.
And so I know my wife babysat. I used to babysit. Like babysit is putting it strongly. Yeah. I would be the responsible and accountable one with the neighborhood kids if I was the oldest and parents weren't around. But
I remember the first time I had to watch my younger brother was 4 years younger and he was 2. So I was 6 changing his shitty diaper one time. And I remember throwing up twice. Because it was it was one of those blowouts, only it was with cloth diapers,
explosive,
and big pins that I had to rinse out in the toilet. And I was 6 years old. And I remember thinking,
it's a trip. I think about my kids, and they're not. I almost feel bad for the life they're not going to have. You know what I mean? Because time's moved on, and they won't change cloth diapers or
you feel bad
work
about
at
they could. We used cloth diapers. It's you can still find it.
Do they still have the big
we thought about doing the service
giant pins?
No,
that you put in them?
Snaps. Yeah, there's like Fuzzy Buns and all these other brands.
and then they got the
cool, and
then they've got the outer wrap, right?
Yeah, that I don't get.
I almost did the service.
Is that just so that the cloth diaper doesn't leak out into the pants?
We didn't use that. We didn't use No, they were just weird. It's like
I didn't get. I felt it was like another step when I saw a friend of mine do it. I'm like, that just feels like a whole other step that you don't really need to be bothered with when you have an infant.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, it was also they were just like they were like, I don't know, tacky when you touched them and like sticky to touch and just kind of gross. And so
it's gross enough.
And you had to buy them extra. So I think we wound up getting gifted one of them and we're like, now we know we don't want that. No. And so we never did.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this Zach Sherwin and then also the other comedians that are going to be here next week.
Yeah, this is an example of me just being really happy to bring people that I love to Petaluma, but also like this show is super like important to me and exciting. So Zach Sherwin, I don't know if we were rolling while we talked about it, but he's a friend of mine who's a comic. He works on Epic Rap Battles, which is like a huge YouTube series.
Yeah.
He works on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend with Rachel Bloom. He writes songs for that show. He like is this perfect hybrid in the space of like music and comedy. And he's just sharp as nails.
Does he actually wear the glasses that he's wearing?
He does. Yeah, those are they're just glasses.
I know, but I don't know. They feel like they make the whole thing, the package.
That's not an act. I don't think unless he's like on a run or something. I don't think I've ever seen him without glasses. But it's a very high concept and mostly interactive show for the audience. We have Zach, who's kind of our host or ringleader, and he's walking people through solving a crossword puzzle. So there's a panel of 3 comedians for the show we're going to have here in Petaluma. We've got Bethany Van Delft from Boston, who's a comic that I've known for years, and I'm going to be recording an album for later this year. She performs a lot on The Moth and Two Dope Queens and all these other great things. She'll be here. And then Francesca Fiorentini, who's kind of came up in the scene in the Bay Area and runs a great monthly show. But also what most people know her from, she was host of a news series for Al Jazeera or AJ Plus called News Broke that ran for a really long time. They won a bunch of awards. They would get like millions of views on each episode. And she does political commentary and has a fantastic new podcast called The Bituation Room that we record.
I remember you. I gotta write that down.
Yeah. So it's an in-studio podcast. They do 3 weeks out of the month, and then the 4th week we record that as a live podcast at the Setup in San Francisco, which is a great comedy room in the Tenderloin. So watch your step as you make it to the venue, but once you're inside, enjoy a great beer or wine and a fantastic live podcast or comedy show.
I feel like there needs to be like a little jingle that just went right.
And then Natasha Muse, who co-hosts with Francesca the monthly show at the Verdi Club in San Francisco, and she's going to be on HBO this year on HBO's special for Two Dope Queens. Wow. But those are like just 3 killers and friends of Zach's, and basically they like we haven't advanced them any information. Like they don't know what they're getting into. No one aside from those who participated in or attended the first show in LA have even really seen it. We recorded it and I've shared it with a couple people. We shared it with Will Shorts, the editor of the Crosswords at the New York Times, and he was like pumped on it.
Nice.
So a few people have seen it, but it's definitely a pretty unique experience. And the crowd will be involved in solving clues, and there's humor and music.
So excited. I just wish I could be here for it.
Yeah, it's going to suck for you because I think I'm coming.
You're going to have a recording of it though, right?
We are. We're partnered with KPCA, which is our community access radio and TV station here, and we're going to record it. And depending on how the language goes, maybe it'll air on KPCA. But we'll definitely have copies recorded for posterity.
Okay.
And then we'll be running it again the next week at SF Sketchfest in San Francisco. And then in March, we'll be back at Dynasty Typewriter in LA. And we're basically kind of targeting a quarterly puzzle. Cause once you've seen the show and you know the answers, it's like,
Right.
You don't want to give it away.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things where like the reveal is huge and the experience is massive. But then once you've seen it, like you kind of know where everything's going. So,
right.
But what I do have is a video from November that I will give you as a parting gift since you won't be able to make the show.
Thank you.
I just ask that you don't share it with people who could attend because they would
give it to me Sunday night just before I get on a plane.
Exactly.
No, I wouldn't share it.
Wait a minute. Where are you going?
I'm good, Mexico. Oh my gosh, that was the perfect lead in to my song. I have to because
no, forget your song.
No,
I interrupted.
He's like, turn it off.
Stop it.
Turn it off.
She's just rubbing it in now.
I can't stand how excited I am. I
and
hope
so
I'm
that's
not over
Friday.
Excited.
That's Friday night.
That's next Friday, the 18th of January here at Keller Street, and I'm super excited that and honored that you thought we were good enough to have a show like this.
Are you kidding? Man.
I feel so bummed that I don't get to be here to meet the comedians. That's kind of my favorite part of all the shows that we do. All the stuff that we do is I get to meet all the
backstage in it,
all the stuff, all the peeps.
I think before I moved in here, I was like, I have ideas. I want to use the lounge as like hospitality for talent for the festival, and I want to do all these things. So I will continue. I promise to impose my events and craziness on you.
I love it.
And I'm trying to do just way more. Like the Griffo show is amazing, and we've been selling it out over there. And I love doing stuff on the east side. But
tell us about when you do those.
I gotta look into that too.
So great.
Yeah, so we did it. It was a little bit sporadic last year in terms of pacing, but we would do these pop-up shows at Griffo, and what we committed to after basically just before the Thanksgiving holiday.
Not to interrupt, but for people that don't know what Griffo is,
there are people who don't know what Griffo is?
I know, right? Griffo Distillery.
Griffo Distillery.
Griffo Distillery here in Petaluma. It's in Maker's Alley, which is how they've rebranded that neighborhood.
Love that.
I'm down with all these new neighborhoods. Let's do it.
Right.
Let's do it. But it's right across the street from Hen House and Lagunitas. It's right next door to 101 Brewing. So you can just kind of crawl, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And we've been doing events there.
The street, though.
You do have to cross the street. I want them to put in.
They need to do a bridge or something. They need something.
I mean, look, Lagunitas. I remember when Lagunitas was just the inside event, like the tasting, and then I was like there before they did construction on the outside thing, and then it was an amphitheater,
it's like
and then
such a thing now.
It's insane.
Hey, we should do a petition. So like
Motel
all of
6
the big
is
companies
like
can like go to the the economic development board in Petaluma and be like, we need a bridge.
You know, all that like that's the stuff. I mean, all the comedy things I get to produce and things I'm hyper interested in, but like the stuff going on in Petaluma, we just had a major election. We kind of had an overhaul of politicians here in town. There's a lot going on with KPCA and like funding, and like we just
had
a
not curse on KCPA.
You're not allowed to curse on KPCA.
Fuck.
I believe
I had to.
I've been there's been some light recruitment of me to do a rap show, and if I do it after 10, the language restrictions are a little looser, apparently, but it's still, you know, like I wouldn't want a 6-year-old to just accidentally turn on the knob, and hear, you know, an unedited.
Can you rap?
No,
you personally.
No, can I do? We've been over this.
I know.
No, this is
come on, but I'm just wondering if this is a thing that like when you were in a kid,
kind of to the point though. Unless my kids ask for it off the Amazon Echo, they're not really tuning into anything.
Oh, see, we have.
I'm trying to think.
4 record players in our home, and
no vinyl, totally.
And so they just play whatever I own, and for my
like
kids,
radios. I don't know if I have one still.
I mean, we have radios in the car. There's, I don't know.
I
let our boys drive whatever we listen to. They get to pick pretty much. And I haven't, you know, my oldest is 6.5. I've never heard a kid's song by his request.
Oh, nice.
Me neither.
The closest we'll get is like Bruno Mars.
Nice.
And that's tolerable enough as long as he's pretending to be Morris Day in the time. So,
it's
nice. It's fine. Which is like tolerable. Most of his stuff these days is like him.
I like Bruno Mars.
He is. That's
like
what
Morris
I'm saying.
Day.
I've said this to friends before. Bruno Mars he's karaokeing his way through the decades. So when Amy Winehouse passed away, he did this like retro 60s thing.
Yeah.
And then he did like the 70s kind of disco-y stuff. And then he went like the Uptown Funk and the 80s stuff with Mark Ronson. And like now he's I'm just like, you're just like the stuff he did with Cardi B was just like 90s R&B. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to catch up to yourself eventually. And then what, you retire or kill yourself? Like,
do you remember when he was on Star Search? When he was
no, of course
he was
not.
like this big.
I've seen the video,
like 3
but
years old
I don't remember it.
No
he was doing Elvis. He lived in Hawaii, and he had like a mean Elvis impersonation.
I actually remember. Oh my god, I'm dating myself. I watched the episode that he was on.
It aired in 1953.
No, it didn't.
No, I'm just trying to make you sound older.
Wait a minute. Hey, how's my microphone? I feel like all of a sudden you turned me off. Is anybody listening?
It's awesome.
Okay, good. Well, I want to say, Dominic, thank you so much for being here, and for your patience with our screwing up, because that's what we do here. Is we just go. But I'm really excited that we did this today, because now we have 1 week to get everybody super excited that's listening. All of our 60. I think we're up to 60 listeners now. That's super awesome.
Yay!
Watch that number skyrocket.
I know.
Right
after we should do
hashtag Cafe Citti.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to go hard on the show notes this month.
We got to go
or this week.
Bruno
just
Mars.
at Bruno Mars on social
media.
Hey, Bruno, we talked about you on our podcast.
That's right.
Had 60 people heard
I'm sure that's totally going to
tie it into Kenwood. No, Cafe Citti, that's crazy.
Yeah. So how can we get tickets to the show?
You can visit blondemedicine.com.
Or look in the show notes.
Or look in the show notes.
Yeah.
Or go on to the Keller Street website, because we have an event page.
What do those tickets cost?
The tickets are, I think they're $10 in advance and $15 at the door, or something like that. There's also discount codes.
Our members get a discount because they're awesome, and Dominic is being so
nice.
And also, if you're hard up for cash and want to come to the show, just come and we'll take care of you. Like it's not like like this is way more about doing a fun thing than it is about like me making money. And we're gonna have all this amazing talent in town because of SF Sketchfest, and it's like, man, let's do something.
Well, the talent's gonna need drug money and stuff. I mean,
no, I provide all the drugs for free.
Awesome.
It's aspirin.
Here's
caffeine.
the thing: like, what are they gonna do after the show in Petaluma? Because sometimes I feel like we roll up the sidewalks a little bit. Although it's on a Friday night, so they could go to McGuire's and get all funky after 11.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Friday. I mean, I'm like loyal to a few places in town just because I like friends work there, or it's like family business or whatever. Volpe's is always fun to take people to, and just go in the speakeasy in the back. It's like a weird room, and if John's playing the accordion, and
That's
you know
a super
that's
cool
like a